Welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast with Stuart Fensterheim, LCSW, your source for the latest tips and practical down-to-earth advice on creating emotionally connected, thriving relationships. Now, here's Stuart.
Hi there, it's Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert, and this is another edition of my podcast. We do these podcasts every week, and the purpose of my podcast is to help all of you really understand how important a relationship is, and also that you have it in your hands to really change your life. Once you have a relationship that is close, significant, and special, you'll have in your hands the power to really change your world in such a deep, wonderful way. You know, this week I'm going to be doing a podcast on my birthday. My birthday is September 18th, and I'm turning 61. And 61 makes it interesting for me because I have a perspective of looking back on my life over the years and really seeing how a relationship, when it has been going well, really has made a difference in not only how I see myself, but how I see everything that I'm involved with. My work, my friends, family, everything. So that my relationship with my significant other really has allowed me to have a relationship that's special, and also to have a perspective on this world that makes it feel like a great place to be. But it hasn't always been that way. It hasn't always been that I've had a relationship that I could say has significantly made my life better. When you have a relationship that's not working, it can be so dark and bleak, and it can make your life so unhappy to a point where you begin to turn around and you go, what point is there anyway? What point is there going to work? What point is there doing anything? So what I want to do, because I've had both of those kinds of experiences, really talk about how I turned the tables on them, on the relationships, and also the exciting part, the part that just has me waking up every day, passionate about what I'm doing, and I want to just serve all of you by telling you that there is an answer, that we now know how to take people from a feeling of disconnection to a feeling of connection in which you know that you truly can be authentic and vulnerable. And so this next week, when I turn 61, I'm able to look back and say, what has changed for me? Why have I been able to really see my world in such a wonderful way? And there's only one person in my life who that has helped in that, and that's my wife, Debbie. Debbie, I love you very much, and I want to thank you for being in my life, because not only has this relationship allowed me to feel like I finally have someone in my life who sees me authentically, who sees all of me. Now, if she was sitting here with me, and I don't know how many of you heard my podcast that she and I did together, this goes back a bit, regarding my dog Ollie, and Ollie and I are a therapy team, and my wife and I also foster dogs, and we do these kinds of things together. And it's not always easy. Having a relationship with a therapist does not always make it an easy road for someone who's not in the field. And what I have recognized through my work, both as a therapist, as a man, as a person, that when I am in an environment that is positive, fulfilling, and not filled with negativity, you begin to see everything with a new insight, an insight that has you saying, the colors look brighter, the job is more fun, the playing tennis is just so much more exciting, watching the Olympics is an exercise in laughter and giggling, seeing your friends and your family, even the family that you aren't really crazy about, gives the two of you an opportunity to really have a secret language, because you look at each other and you don't even have to say anything. You know what's going on. You know what each other is thinking, because you every day talk and share and fight and make up and repair and do all the things that you need to do to keep your love strong. Because here's what I've learned over 61 years, that the most important thing in every interaction that you do is to never make anything more important than how you two feel about each other. And because I have been able to really expose parts of myself to my wife, I don't ever have to worry about that will she discover something about me that might turn her away. Being genuine in a relationship is hard work. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to tell my partner everything. You have to be willing to face and go deep in your own pain, in your own self-doubt, to tell yourself that I can share even the parts that confuse me. I can really divulge to my partner all my hopes, dreams, anxieties, fears, fear about them not loving me, fear about not being successful. And if you come from a background in which there had been some failures, particularly relationship failures, to be able to turn to your partner and say, I'm worried I'm going to mess this up too. I'm worried that you and I are not going to be able to put this all together. And I want us to just every day make sure that we don't pull away, turn away, and even when we're the angriest, even when I feel let down by you, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to have to guess how I feel, and I'm going to make it important for the two of us to resolve this issue, because nothing matters more to me than you, and I trust when you tell me nothing matters more than me to you. And that's really the key, guys and ladies, to really have a relationship where you truly know that your partner isn't going to tell you something that's not real, that deception is not part of the picture. But what happens is we get triggered, and when we get triggered, we begin to have doubt, and when we have doubt, unless we have many, many, many situations and examples of things being different than that doubting Thomas that creeps in, we begin to believe it and then begin to interpret things. And what I want to really talk about on this isn't to go back and rehash some of this, but really to let you know that my wife, who is this genuine soul, this kind, caring soul, who sees me and sees the good in me, sees the part of me that says just being in her life, just being present is good enough. I don't have to make a lot of money, although she's not unhappy if I do. I don't have to have this prestigious job, although she'd be happy if I did. I don't have to have a lot of money in the bank, but it sure makes life more fun. We don't have to go on cruises to Rome. As some of you know, we just got back from that, especially when you get caught up in the Delta mess. But we did, and we went to Rome and had a blast and saw the Pope, and she's Catholic and I'm Jewish. Now, you would say that's not a great combination, but we make it work. How we do that is we both tell each other what's important. And we have a feeling, even before we tell each other that our partner is going to want to meet our needs. And therefore, when my wife turns to me and says, on Christmas Day, she doesn't want to feel like she's all alone at church. It's an important day. And Easter Day is also one of those days. And I make a commitment that every single year I will be sitting right by her side. And I turn to her and say, Yom Kippur, the High Holy Day, is a really important day for me. Now, I'm not religious, but that's a day that if I go to synagogue, I want you sitting next to me. I don't want to be alone. And sometimes that requires her taking time off work, which she doesn't want to do, because she only has so much vacation time. And I understand that. But guess what? She does it. She does it anytime I ask. And the exciting piece of all of this is that the two of us have made important how each of us feel. And that changes everything. And for me, as someone who's been divorced, and that's not even an easy thing for me to say publicly, I'm excited about the fact that I could say, I now have a life with a woman that I know I matter to. Not just in a little way, in a huge way. And that piece of it, that commitment that we both have made to let each other know that we matter and that nothing matters more. And we don't say it in our head, we say it in our heart, and we say it with our mouth, and we tell each other that in the small things we do and in the big things we do. So my wife has saved my marriage and my life. And I don't say that tongue-in-cheek. She has saved my life. She saved my life because I know I'm not alone. And when I look back and I see the things in my life that has made me who I am today, I look at my biggest accomplishments and I look at my biggest challenges, and having this perspective allows me to say, Debbie Noble Fensterheim has made my life meaningful and has changed my life to the better. And here's the key, everyone, has healed me better than any counselor has ever done, better than any medicine I've ever taken. The best medicine for me, no matter what ails me, is my wife. And that's the perspective in looking at my life and my world and my 61 years. This is what I need, and this is what everyone needs. Everyone needs someone in their life that means that much to them and has made that kind of impact. And here's the exciting part. If you're in a relationship right now that doesn't do that, you can create that. You can change what the two of you are doing when you make that commitment to one another and you're in this together. You can change the relationship to have a marriage, a partnership that's just like that. And I've seen it over and over in my office, and as working in the field of marriage counseling. And I want to just share with everyone who's listening that I have a website, and it's www.thecouplesexpertscottsdale.com. Please go check me out there and look and see all the things that we do and all the information that I share there, free resources, things that I do because I know firsthand what it can do for all of you and how it can change your world. And if you're in that despairing time where you and your partner are really not doing well, you're in a relationship that is a burden at times, I want you to become Annie. Annie the musical. Most of you know it. It's a big song, and it's called Tomorrow. And it goes something like this. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Clear away the cobwebs and the sorrow. When I stick out my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun will come out tomorrow. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. Sing that song. Remember that every single day you have the opportunity to change your relationship. The answer is not to end the relationship. And I see so many people doing that and feel like that's the answer. Just start over. It's not the answer, guys and ladies, because we all need to deal with our demons, the things that get in the way of our feeling happy about ourselves. And a good relationship, that's what it can do. It can change the way, not only your relationship, but how you view yourself. And how we look in the mirror has a lot to do with authenticity. And that's really one of the biggest things when I look back at the 61 years of my life. And in my family, I haven't always fit in, at least from my perspective. And I know my family would say, oh, yes, you have. There's been no issues. But there are times that we could be a little bit like oil and water. But what we do is we really have a foundation. The emotional side of me, which is why I think I'm such an incredible therapist, but it's also have some problems to it. And if my wife was sitting here, she would agree with what I'm about to say, which is sometimes I obsess and make things bigger in my head than they are. I have a way of being histrionic. For those of you that know what that word means, it basically means embellishing things. Small things feel to me like huge. And there are parts of me that I'm not really that thrilled with. And she knows this about me because my being authentic says I show her all sides of me, even the parts I don't like about myself. Because it's just who I am. And she's able to see them. And she's able to really say, this is part of who you are, and I love all of you. And by doing that, it really has allowed me to just value her in so many different ways. And coming from a relationship in which I hadn't felt really a connection, I now know what a connection can do. And what it can allow you to do is acknowledge each other, appreciate one another, and really be able to say, I am with my soulmate. There's a Yiddish word called bashert. And what it means, translated, is destiny. And the way that it's used in the Torah is basically as a predestined spouse or soulmate. My wife is my Catholic Barsher, and she has been the one that I've needed to be with. And the saddest thing for me, as I look back on my 61 years, is the fact that we've only been together not a whole lot of years. It's not a couple of years, but we've been together, not 30. And I wish we had. I wish I had children with her. And I did not. I could not. I have two wonderful children who I love incredibly, and I'm so thrilled. And one of the things that I've been able to do over the years is really have a reflection on my divorce and say, it was not a mistake. Because came from that divorce were my two kids. And the other piece of all of this that's somewhat sad in looking back at my 61 years is knowing that if I had found emotionally focused therapy, I believe that that divorce may not have occurred. Still might have. EFT doesn't fix everything. If your attachment needs are in line, you can have it all. If they're not, you won't. But the biggest lesson that I've learned through my divorce is appreciating your partner in the small ways, not just in the big ways, in the big things that they do, but appreciating your partner and the little things that they do that they will say to you when you go, thank you for that. They'll say, not that big a deal. Everyone does this. And you're going to look them square in the eye and you're going to say, maybe, but not your way and not with your love. And even if everyone does it, even if it's something that it's not a big deal to you, that it should be sort of an expectation that someone cooks or someone goes to work, it still means a mountain to me. Because it's being done with the love and caring, dedication, and authenticity, and genuineness, and heart that you have. And I'm not going to ever make these little things unimportant. The small things is what make a difference. The big things are nice. The small things will keep your marriage alive, keep your relationship real, keep people knowing that they're lucky to have you in their life. And a connection with a partner is not a small thing. A connection that has you feeling like over 61 years, I now have someone that I can grow old with. I tell the story, and it's an interesting one. My ex-wife and I used to volunteer at Gamage. I think she still does, but one of the things that I did, and sometimes we would go together, and then at times we'd go separate, and this one opportunity was something that I was there without anyone, so I was just hanging out with some of the other ushers, and I met this gentleman who was about 80 years old. A lot of people who are ushering, they're doing this out of retirement. And he turned to me and he said he was getting married. He was all excited about it. He had a big smile on his face and all of that. And I said, congratulations. He said, yeah, I've had one terrible relationship. My whole life was filled with, this was his, I think, 4th or 5th marriage. And he said, you know what? I'm so happy. My life and love's been good. I said, that's interesting you said that. How do you say that? You just told me you had all these terrible marriages. He said, because getting married, I don't care if I have 1 year, I don't care if I have 50, to be with someone that I feel this much in love with makes my world okay. And my life has significance and meaning because I finally found someone. And that's really my message to all of you. Not that you need to go through marriages, but that it's never too late to change things. And now with the research we have on love and relationships, we have a clear map of showing people how to go from point A to point B. And it's not a guessing game. It's not like I say to some of my clients. It's not cross your fingers, cross your toes, and hope it's going to be okay. It's look straight ahead, get ready for a bumpy ride. It's a roller coaster at times, but the ride's worth it, and there is an end, and there's a stop to the pain. The pain of feeling alone is unnecessary in a marriage, in a relationship, with the person that you're with right now. As long as the two of you don't give up, and the two of you put one foot in front of the other, and go to an attachment-based model of helping, you will have a marriage that matters to you and that you'll be proud of. And I see it all the time in my office. People come in that way and leave a different way. And I see it with the workshops that I do, and I'm actually going to be doing one in just a couple of days. Going to be doing a weekend, 2 days, 7 conversations here in my office, where we go through all the steps of emotionally focused therapy. And every single person that's gone through this weekend has said it's made a significant difference because they finally see why their relationship has had some difficulties, and they now have a plan. So if you want to check that out, go to my website. But the main message here today is that in 61 years of life, I really understand that relationships are not a want to. They're a have to. A significant close relationship is not something we just optionally say, well, it would be nice to have. Without it, we feel like we're drowning, and we feel like our life is being choked out of us, and guess what? It is. So don't make this something that you minimize. Make it something that you make real, and believe in yourself. Believe that you can have this. You know, the people that work in the field of marriage counseling are an interesting group. And I really see all of us as crusaders. I know I am. I am a crusader for love. I need to have some sort of costume that I can wear every day, almost like a super relationship man costume, so that all of you know that I have a smile on my face almost every time I think about myself, my life, my relationship, and it helps me when I get to work to be consistent and not to feel like I'm a hypocrite. Because I'm telling you, people that do this for a living, who are based on an attachment model, are the true heroes. Because what we offer and what we do is help people see what's right in front of them, that there's an answer to what ails you, which is the love in your life. And if this marriage, this relationship doesn't have it, let's go about and fix it and make it that way. Now, what I don't want anyone to misconstrue, and one of the things I'm going to start doing next week is to basically answer some of my questions that people have been writing in about. And I'm going to start answering them here on the podcast. So stay tuned in, because this podcast is going to really be cutting edge. We're going to be answering listeners' questions. We're going to be talking about the topics that we need to be talking about. And we're going to make my 61st year a really exciting year here at the Couples Expert Podcast. On my Facebook page, the Couples Expert Facebook page, on my 3 Minute with Stuart videos, which I hope people are finding meaningful. It sounds like they are because I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on them. And I've also got a resource that I'm putting together right now that I want to share with all of you starting next week. We're going to be talking about all the things that we're doing this year, and I'm excited to really have more and more things to help all of you have a relationship that will last your lifetime. Take care and stay connected. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode with your host, Stuart Fensterheim. You're one step closer to reigniting that fiery passion with your partner. For more information and your 30-minute free phone consultation with Stuart, visit www.thecouplesexpertscottsdale.com. We'll see you next time.